Okay, so you've just had a baby recently. These are some great gentle movements that will help you kind of get your body back in the groove. Now, it's time to be sure you're really resting and taking care of yourself, drinking lots of fluids and taking care of your body, keeping gentle movement. So I'm going to sit on a pillow with my hips nice and square. If that's uncomfortable, I can sit with my feet out in front of me, or I can just sit without anything underneath me. But for this, I'm gonna pop this here so my hips feel nice and square, and I'm gonna focus on pelvic floor work. My shoulders are relaxed, I'm gonna relax my face. This is time to breathe and cue the parasympathetic nervous system. As I exhale, I'm gonna slightly press my transverse abdominis, lifting my pelvic floor like I'm lifting little blueberries up inside of me, not crushing them, lengthening my spine as I exhale, press in for 2. Slow exhale. Feeling that diaphragmatic inhale. Exhale, pressing in, finding those little blueberries, gentle Kegel. Beautiful. I'm going to do 2 more. Nice big inhale. And you can always do more or less, pausing the camera, the video. Exhale, lifting up, pulling in. And nice big inhale. Last time, exhale, diaphragmatic breath, drawing the abs in, relaxing the shoulders and throat. Beautiful big inhale. I'm going to move this pillow out kind of from underneath me. Again, I'm not taking this like as a lot of drastic movement. I want to nurture my body right now. I'm going to be sitting up nice and tall with my hands behind me, mobilizing my hips, finding that range of motion, especially with a vaginal birth. You have a lot of trauma and stress in the pelvic area. So just move gently and slowly with your breath. You can go slower than I'm going, or you can go a tiny bit faster. But remember, this is a nurturing time for your body, taking care of it because you're taking care of a new little one. And I'm doing this in bed. You could do this on the floor. I'm going to go ahead and move into a nice big full rotation with a nice kind of figure 4, rolling into it and then opening up. I'm going to get a stretch across my chest, especially if you're breastfeeding. You'll find that this gets really tight. So finding that gorgeous range of motion. Inhale to open, exhale to find that rotation, warming up both the shoulders and the hips. You'll also feel like a little bit of a stretch, especially in that front hip. I'm gonna go ahead and move into the back leg, flexing that foot. I can move it forward, and I'm gonna find internal rotation of that hip, rocking through those hips for 2. Now I'm gonna do about 5 or 6 of each one of these. You can do more or a few or less, whatever feels right for you. Exhale, rolling it in, hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Now I'm going to come forward into a forward stretch. Now, if I'm feeling tight or uncomfortable, especially if I have discomfort in the abdominal structure, it's nice to have a pillow here as I just breathe and find that stretch. And you can always stack more pillows or have fewer pillows, whatever feels good for your body. Breathing deeply, cueing that parasympathetic nervous system, which is kind of your rest and digest. So it's going to help with, especially if you're not getting a lot of sleep. And again, finding that forward twist and inhale, open. Exhale. Inhale. Finding that gentle range of motion. You can slow it down if you'd like. Now I'm going to again move into that internal rotation, flexing my back foot, kind of rocking and lifting it. And one side might be tighter than the other, and that's totally fine. I like to exhale on the way up, but be sure I flex my foot to protect my knee. I'm going to hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and gently release. And again, I'm going to grab that pillow from behind me, bring it across the front and folding down into it. Breathing. It's really important to take care of your body during this time. You've experienced a lot in your body in the last 9 months. Nice big inhale. Nice big exhale. Coming on up, sliding that leg forward. We're going to move that pillow again kind of out of the way. I'm going to come forward and come to laying on my back. And now, if this is uncomfortable on your head or your hips, you can always flex those feet and pull the abs in, but you can also lift a pillow and pull it underneath, especially if you're getting any cramping. When you flex your feet, you get a little bit more of a cueing into those low abs, and the focus is to keep the pelvis stable. And I'm using my hands to press in and close that abdominal wall. A lot of times when you're pregnant, you have what is called diastasis recti, which is when the abdominal structure slightly herniates and separates. So I'm retraining that deep abdominal structure to close when I engage. If you lift your head and you have a little ridge down the center of your abdominal wall, that means you have a slight diastasis recti, and it's not a big deal, it's super normal, but we want to kind of press in and retrain that abdominal structure to close. Now I'm going to move that pillow between my inner thighs. Now, this is one I'm not going to squeeze as hard as I can. I'm squeezing in with my inner thighs, still pressing in, doing abdominal approximation or closing of the abdominal structure as I gently Kegel and lightly squeeze as I squeeze closed for 2. And I really don't want to squeeze as hard as I can, but it's a gentle, like 40% to 60%. Squeezing close. And you can give a little bit more of a forceful breath for this one to cue that pelvic floor a little bit more deeply if you'd like. And again, exhaling. And I can even kind of bring my fingers in, really almost lengthening and releasing the obliques because they get super tight. Because as the rectus abdominis and the transverse abdominis, which are your deep layer of abdominals, and then the one that kind of runs down the front, we're going to squeeze and hold. So we want to think about engaging those muscles and kind of releasing and slightly backing off the engagement in the obliques. We're going to just find that nice little hold and release. Go ahead and move that pillow again out of the way. And you're going to just, again, flex those feet, just finding that nice little deepening of the pelvic floor. When you flex, you'll feel a slight deepening of the low abdominal structure, lifting those little blueberries up, and blueberries up. Now we're going to keep that as we lift. Now I'm not going to arch my back. Here, let me turn on the diagonal so it's a little easier to see. I'm going to draw my abs in. I'm going to lift up, not pushing up and opening, but kind of approximating again, closing that wall. So you can use your hands, you can use them to close, but I want to feel those glutes. And I want my feet a little bit maybe wider than hip distance, but not much more than that. As I exhale, lift, hinging back and down, creating that connection again to my posterior chain, which is like the back of the structure of the body. This is also good because it opens up the hip flexors actively and kind of can release those because they can get really tight, especially in our last trimester. Squeezing it up, exhaling. We're going to hold it and float it down. I'm going to roll to my side. It's still really important that you roll to your side and you're not stressing out the deep kind of flexors of the torso. So I'm going to inhale, rotate, open, and I'm going to exhale, thread through and away, getting a nice spiral through the spine. If that feels like too much, you can always just bring the hands straight to the floor, back to that start position. 3 and through. So this should feel really nice. I'm kind of finding that gorgeous big rotation through the body. And I'll feel a stretch in my groin and into my hip. And we're just going to hold it, finding that gorgeous release. Now, again, you don't have to do that part if you don't want, coming all the way back into it. Now, I'm going to sit back, feeling that stretch, and I'm going to come forward. Now, I don't want to dump into my low back, but I am lifting through my chest too. So I am finding spine articulation without dropping. I want to stay strong into the body, squeeze those glutes, and kind of like keep on Kegeling and finding that low ab. Now, if this feels like too much, you don't have to come quite so far forward, just coming to neutral. But this should feel good, and like you're kind of both working through your shoulder range of motion, your hip range of motion, and a slight deepening of that ab structure. I'm going to go ahead and bring that leg in, and I'm going to switch to the other side. Now, again, I want to push from my shoulder, finding that deep connection, not collapsing in my bottom arm, but pushing up, and exhale, threading through. And again for 2 and thread. And you don't have to come all the way through. You can always just bring the hand to the floor for 3. Finding the range of motion that works best for you. 4. Beautiful range of motion. Finding that breath, finding the time to kind of reconnect into your body as we take that into a nice stretch. Let's gently inhale, reach all the way up, circling that arm down and around. And we're going to again shift forward. Again, I'm not dumping into my low back. I'm not just finding a big clunk, but I'm finding that nice connection through the core. And here, I'll turn sideways so you can kind of see my range of motion. So I'm not dropping, but I'm finding that squeeze and that kind of still gentle connection into those abs. Beautiful inhale to come forward, opening up, exhale, coming back. This one is really good, especially because you get so tight in the upper back when you're lifting and carrying a new baby. Beautiful big range of motion. Let's go ahead and bring that in. I'm going to turn this way. It's not a very flattering image, but if you want to think about moving, and I want you to be able to see, so I'm up on all fours, kind of finding internal to external rotation in the femur heads. Still kind of working those glutes, finding that range of motion, releasing the hips. Our hips just take so much trauma during our pregnancy, so it's super important to kind of work that range of motion. We're going to sit back, taking a shell stretch or a child's pose, and you can kind of release those arms forward. And again, if you want to take a pillow or a cushion and put it between you and the bed or the floor, that's fine. Just let's walk our hands over to the left, feeling a stretch down our right side. Just breathing, and let's find a stretch to the other side. Coming back to center, and again, you can always hold any of these longer or shorter than you'd like. Let's go ahead and we're going to move into that kind of nice hip opening. I like this one on the bed especially because it's not super drastic, but you will feel that nice release through the hip. I'm going to extend my right leg off the bed, opening through that hip flexor. I can also reach my right arm overhead, or I can keep it on my knee as I rock my left leg side to side, massaging my psoas or my deep, deep hip flexors. Just breathing, finding that gorgeous breath. And you can always snake that leg in and switch, flexing both feet to protect your knees as you rock side to side. And I'm going to slightly bend my left elbow, pressing against my left thigh to kind of increase that external rotation, but you do not have to. And let's snake to the other side. And you can always take this stretch longer. You can reach that left arm overhead, or you can keep it nice and kind of on the same right leg as the left, so they're kind of just a little bit more support on that leg as you find that rock side to side. Remember that it's time to kind of nurture and take care of your body. You can snake that leg in. You can always kind of bring it into external rotation and assist with the opposite hand or the same hand as you flex both feet, figure four stretch, rocking side to side. This should feel really gorgeous and releasing through the hip and low back. Finding that diaphragmatic breath. Gently release. We're going to circle that leg, making sure you're supporting your legs with your arms so that you're really finding that release. And let's reverse it for 3, 2, and 1. And gently roll to your side to come all the way up, making sure that you keep on rolling to your side. It's super important. So I hope that feels good. I hope I'll see you again. If you have any more questions, you can always reach out, helenawellness.com. See you again.